So literally this notion, we're descendants of these elements, stardust.
Yes, unquestionably, that's true. We know for sure that we're made of stardust, and we even know a fair amount about the actual stars that must have exploded to make the heavy elements that we are made of.
Thomas Berry says we need a new story. And the old story of how we got to be where we are is no longer viable. So we need a story that's grounded in what contemporary science is telling us about who we are and how we fit. But we also need a story that's spiritually grounding and spiritually rich.
So one of the things you're doing, among many, is reweaving a full-scale sense of our common history as Americans, but also our common history as planetary people, as universe people. I'd love you to talk about that sense of continuity and discontinuity and complexification.
Well, a very core understanding that's really only come in the last 10 or 20 years is the concept of a common ancestor. And that all modern life is descended from that original common ancestor.
We think of our brains as so different from other brains, but the more we've learned about how they're structured and how the genes have structured brains and so on, we realize that the way brains are segmented, that sort of theme and variation structure of brains, is an old one. That all vertebrates, in fact, are all segmented the same way. The brains are all laid out with the same basic principles. Not just the same basic neurons, but even the same basic chunks.
The universe story, I think, is empowering people to have hope and to have understanding about how all the pieces come together. And that gives people a much greater direction, I think, to have the scientists work together with the humanists, work together with social scientists, everybody kind of come together with their little piece of the puzzle to work toward that ultimate goal of trying to become more sustainable and allow the planet to keep being creative.
A lot of the ideas out of ecological economics are spreading into conventional economics and into the common understanding of what we need to do.
For example, what do we need to do?
Well, we do need to sort of re-examine how we have thought about the economy. And so ecological economics has a very critical role of questioning some of the basic culture of economics, even within the discipline of economics, which irritates my cohorts quite a bit.
So permaculture, it transcends climate, it transcends culture. You can grow food and develop sustainable practices and sustainable shelter design, passive solar design, and energy systems, working with the resources that you have where you live. Every place on the planet has solutions based. We look often to the indigenous cultures and how people have tended the land in a good way for thousands of years.
Exactly. And we're part of this large story, right?
You know, I really think that the new cosmology is America's spiritual gift to the human species. And it's universal and broad enough that it can be translated into different contexts, that you can use it in different contexts. And I actually prefer using that when I first start offering evolutionary worldviews to my young students, just because of its scientific base.
Everything is a sacred reality with infinite preciousness, with immense potential to unfold. So the idea of reverence and respect is something that connects our ecological thinking and our social justice thinking. The entire universe is composed of sacred beings, precious, sacred realities, and we're here to commune with them.